Okay, everybody. Thank you very much for getting on time here for our Game Changing Impact Program webinar. This webinar is about managing your career and part of the series of the Game Changing Impact Program that we are running today. So obviously the program itself is brought to you by the InnoEnergy Career Centre in association with the GC Index and us Enterprise Lab, who support you with the webinars and coaching for your program. We have got a few things that we're going to be going through in terms of the contents. I haven't actually set everything else out here, but I'm going to give you an introduction to the GCIC. We're then going to go into a little bit around your profile, the coaching program itself in terms of the pillar for managing your career. And for those of you who are registered onto this webinar, you're also were given the opportunity to complete a questionnaire which allowed you to provide us with some areas of insights that you wanted. So we've collated that information, put that all together, and we are going to Nathan and I will start going through some of this stuff with you, hopefully to give you some more advice, guidance, tips, and answer some of these questions that you guys have at this stage. Again, it's an interactive seminar, so on this one we're not going to have any polls per se, but what we will open the floor up for is any questions, any comments that you guys would like to add. So make sure you've got those coming through at any time. So as you may or may not know already, November brings us European Utility Week, and in line with that is the InnoEnergy Game Changing Impact Challenges. Last year we had a tremendous turnout and results. It's going to be another fast, frenetic and energetic couple of days. If you're not already signed up for it, I think the Career Centre have closed their application rounds in, but I'm looking forward to, and I'm sure Nathan is as well, looking forward to meeting you all out there in Paris, where we'll be working on some really fun, interactive and interesting challenges. There's a lot more information that's going to be released in due course, obviously with preferences and stuff like that for challenges and how the team makeups will be made, and then obviously more on the itinerary and schedule to follow. So not long to go now. I think only about 6 weeks before we're all heading off to Paris. So we'll see you there. So essentially, what we want to kind of move on to is in this topic, or the topic of this webinar is really about managing your career. But I think it's quite important that we do understand that this pillar within the sort of coaching goals and stuff is very much about how we help you make the right decisions, and also, as Nathan has set out there, how we help you make your best impact. So Nathan's going to sort of step up now. I'm going to sort of control the slide deck for him, but essentially he's just going to give us a little bit more insight into what it means with the GC Index with regards to managing your career, what the coaching goals look like. And we're going to take a little deep dive into interpreting your profile and how you would understand your proclivity for when you are in the environment of managing your career. So Nathan, could I ask you to join us?
Yep. Hi, Ketan. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. So just as a bit of background, so I've spent over 24 years now in the world of recruitment, so helping senior individuals, mid-level individuals, helping them develop their careers and making the right decisions. The GC Index itself was born out of the need for the recruitment process to be a little bit more helpful, both for the individual and the employer. And just recently, the GC has been nominated as the assessment tool of choice for the Recruitment Employer Confederation. So it's something that works. And I think for this webinar, we just put it down to 2 points. How can the GC Index, your profile that you've got, your coaching and the supplementary tools that are provided by the program, start helping you make some of the right decisions about the roles, your next role that you wish to take, and equally once you've in that role, how can you help you make the best impact? Okay, so we're just going to talk about that for 5 minutes or so. You will obviously to be discussing this with your coaches. Some of you will be looking at internships. You'll already be thinking about what roles you want to take. Some of you might feel you want to get onto a grad program. Some of you feel you might be wanting more entrepreneurial. Some of you just might not know. Yeah. So this is hopefully helping you to make some of those decisions. As you know, just to reiterate, so the whole program itself is built on these 5 core pillars, and the GC Index is there as a framework to help you develop these areas. So yeah, we're talking about the managing your career bits, and those are the learning objectives or the development objectives that we hope that you do work on throughout this section of the program. So just moving on, Ketan, if we can, on the slide, you would have received your GC Index profile. You'd have read it. You'd have hopefully be discussing this with your coach, and you will know that all of you are very different. You all want to make an impact in different ways, and that's what the GC Index highlights. There's no right way, there's no wrong way, but it does have an impact on, as you will see in your report, this notion of thriving and surviving. It's not just about surviving in a role or surviving in a career. It's really how can you help yourself understand how you will thrive in the right environment with the right boss. And that's what the GC Index is, a useful tool, just to really helping you make some of those decisions. So I think we've got what we decided to do was we would take a few of your profiles that are, if you're here on this webinar. I think we've got those, Ketan, on the next slide. So this is these are real profiles. I'm not sure if you recognise yourself in this in this profile, but certainly when you look at you read that profile, this individual is a strategist, game changer, and a strategist implementer. If we look at those combinations from before that are also in your report. Now, the thing is, you'll notice with this individual, they've got a 1 on polishing. Okay, that doesn't mean they're not good at polishing. If you remember, the GC Index isn't a measure of competence, but this individual in a role that is demands high quality, continuous improvement, relentlessness of delivery of objectives without any clarity, that's the strategy bit, will be draining for them. This individual will need to know why they're doing things, what they're doing, how they're going to go and do it, because that 7 means they need that clarity. They also have a need for creativity and creative expression, which you can see from the 6 in the game changer. So straight away, this individual we know is going to thrive in an environment where they are given the information, the why they're doing things before they go and execute and do them. Yeah. So, and that's important. So this individual interview will be asking particular questions. They will want to know what the role really is, what's expected of them, what's the career path, so you need to start, this individual would need to start asking those questions, and they might be a bit embarrassed about doing that. They might be asking them in the wrong way. So they really do need to start developing the way that they ask the questions of their employer. Now, what tends to happen in these roles, now whether you are going to work for Google or the government, when you take your first role, you're going to be asked to do quite a lot. And this will be a constant theme, you are going to be very much put into that implementer box. Now, we leave university and our master's programs with great ideas and high hopes of being able to change the world, but the reality can be somewhat quite different. So this individual should be able to survive and benefit a lot better with that 6 on implementer. But that's what's really going to steer them through, particularly in the first instance. This person's you're gonna need to come in and earn your spurs, build a reputation for delivering, and they will need to find anchors in that implementer box. Now, if this person is just implementing and just doing without that strategic or game-changing bit, their energy will drain. They will find it very difficult. And so it's really when you are questioning your employer, questioning about the role, is making sure for this individual particularly, where, give me an example of where someone in my position's ideas are taken seriously. Give me an example of where someone in entering this organization has had their ideas taken seriously, or where real creativity is respected or valued in this organization. Now, if you get an answer about creativity going, well, we have innovation days every month, from 2 till 4 on a Tuesday, which doesn't sound like the most creative environment to me. So that will be a watchword for you. So you could start using this profile to understand yourself, and then start asking questions at interview. We've got another one there, Ketan. Wow. Okay. Very different. So very, very different profile. So if we can see straight away, this individual is a lot less pragmatic than the previous individual. So that need for creative expression, that need for expressing their thoughts, is extraordinarily important to this individual. If this person is in an environment where they cannot express their ideas, or they can have some freedom of thinking, they would really struggle and they'll be drained. Now, they've only got a 4 on implementer, so actually routine tasks, achievement, getting things done are less interesting for them. Generally less interesting. This individual will get drained. They will also get drained a lot more if the environment, this is the 6 polisher I'm talking about, will also get drained if there isn't a focus on quality within the organization they're going to. Now, back to my original point, this individual has a 4 on implementation. I've already said that moving into a new role, you're going to have to implement. So for this individual in particular, they're going to have to work really hard on finding the anchors for doing quite mundane tasks if they're asked to do so. Now, that is quite a difficult thing to do. Potentially. So you're going to have to find anchors to get things done, but also if you can do that in an environment that does value original ideas and new ways of doing things. And again, you ask that question, can you give me an example of where, real creativity is valued in this organization? And you listen to the answer. And if the answer makes you think, well, actually, I could end up being just squashed here and I'm just a pair of hands, and actually this is not going to get the most out of my energy, just think about it, and think about if it's really the right choice. Okay. Next one. We've got again, it's a continuation of a theme actually, and this is exactly the same as the individual before. Pretty much, it's just as a more extreme example, and this individual will no doubt leave energy with lots of great ideas, and can actually see how they can be implemented. And and at interview, the organization might say they value those, but it would be just helpful to have a real conversation with that boss to go, look, or that manager, what does the first 3 months look for me here, really? What does it really look like for me? What am I expected to really do? Because that is when, if the answer is, well, actually, you're going to come for the next 6 months and just do some stuff that we tell you to do, this person better be prepared for that. And if they're not, and they don't like that answer, then they should not join that organization. But if they do join that organization, they've got to be prepared to find anchors to deliver on those expectations. And they will find it hard. And finally, this is a much more playmaker-focused individual. So this individual will thrive where there is genuine collaboration. That's where their energy is. predominantly. Their energy is, doing things together in an inclusive manner, value harmony, and that's what gives them their energy. So again, at interview, and particularly when you're asking those questions, a question for this individual might be, can you give me an example where genuine collaboration is valued, please? Or how do you generally collaborate in this organization? And again, if you get an answer that says, oh, well, we remember everyone's birthdays and, on a Friday we go for drinks together, that's not really going to cut it, for this individual. This individual really wants to work in a genuinely collaborative environment where everyone's contribution is valued. And again, back to that implementer score, they will have to realize that they're going to have to earn their spurs in the first 100 days by building reputations and for getting things done. This person is not going to be able to come in and just build lots of relationships without delivering tangible actions. That's not often what this person is going to be valued for. They might be, but often that is not the case. Okay, I'll leave that there. There's plenty of more we can talk about this, but just start using this as a framework for thinking practically about the type of role that you want to go for and those first 100 days in your career, alongside other deciding factors such as the type of organization, the type of size of the organization, the brand, the discipline. Of course, they're all important, but just use this as an extra way to make sure that your energy is maintained and your impact is maximized.
Wonderful, thank you, Nathan. It's amazing how small differences in the proclivities in those different profiles can lead to such different things, in terms of how people would approach, observe, perceive, and actually behave in that sense. And I guess for students that are listening to everything in here, it's very much understanding who you are as a, from the proclivity that you have, how your profile is actually set up, and understanding what does that mean in the context of where you're going. So, high game changers, high strategists, you're very much more visionary. Whereas your kind of your implementer polishers tend to be more driven. And I guess just because you have a higher playmaker score, it just means that you're actually going to be more facilitative on how you're getting into things.
There's a classic example of this last year. We had a brilliant individual, game changer strategist. Okay, very low overalls. Went to join Accenture. Okay, in the innovation group in Accenture. Wow, exciting! I've joined Accenture. It's innovation group. Selling them. We do all these wonderful and crazy, great things. And Accenture, we're at the forward part of innovation and digital transformation and technology. Sounds wonderful. Yeah. His first year and a bit, he was stuck on a project up in Hull in the UK. Now, if you've never been to Hull, just think of Detroit in the US. Yeah. Stuck there for a year doing the same thing over, and he was fundamentally drained. Yeah. Because he just didn't ask those questions that, that suited his proclivity. He wasn't prepared. Yeah. And it sounded exciting. And it sounded like a good career move. And he just had to rationalize with himself that I'm doing this for a step on the ladder, or I'm doing this for different reasons, but drained, despite how exciting it sounded.
Excellent. And guys, so listening out there, if you've got any questions, you can either raise your hand, or you can also use the Q&A function within the webinar. Bring some certain things forward, even if you just want to share some experience with yourselves. But there, with what Nathan just talked about, is really, really important. Sometimes the perspective or perception of just a brand or a company, an organization like Accenture, and the trigger word of innovation could lead you down a path where you kind of don't focus and concentrate on the small elements of what your career and role is going to look like, and that could be the difference between you being ending up in a job and actually taking the first steps towards your career. So obviously, Nathan and I both want to sort of share our sort of experience and advice and guidance to you all around these kind of functions and stuff like that. So obviously, we asked these questions specifically to you around what you felt were hurdles and barriers to your career development, one of the first ones that actually came up was networking, and how to approach and build a network. So US students are actually asking for more sort of tips and techniques on how to approach the whole world of networking and how to build a network. Now, I know, Nathan, part and parcel of being in recruitment or in the recruitment industry is it's not just about having a pipeline of people that you can place in. You've got to also have built a network of connectivity to prospective employers and managers. So, is there anything that you could share with the students on how you go about building your network and how you approach actual networking?
Yeah, 100%. But before I carry on talking, it'll be good to know by just a show of hands or any comments or anyone that finds this an issue or a problem. So I think
Yeah,
it'd be very helpful if anyone else wants to come in and say
absolutely.
something about challenges they might be finding, particularly around that issue.
So guys, raise your hands if you find that it's something that which is an issue for you. Just got to raise your hands, and if you want, use the Q&A function to actually state anything or ask a question. And if you, for those of you who have raised your hands, if anyone is interested to come on board, um, um, I can open the floor for you guys. So I'm just going to lower all hands again. Anyone like to come on and just give us a little bit of a bit of context when it comes to networking and the challenges? Come on, be a brave soul. Someone put your hand up. No, no one wants to. Okay. Well, using the Q&A forum section, maybe perhaps you want to type in some of the areas that you find a challenge within
I think
networking or your experience.
in my experience, these InnoEnergy students aren't ordinarily that shy. So it'd be quite so. And I think as we move forwards with a number of these webinars, it will be much more powerful for everyone if we do get some interaction. But
Yeah.
I'll see if people can pluck up some courage. But I will take it that either people are just silent because they want to listen, but equally, or they already know how to networking. But this is something we polled, or we asked a question for a number of all of you guys, and a good percentage of the cohort responded, and networking was one of your biggest things to have a tip with. Now, I think for me, the main sort of flick of a switch, or the concept really, is that actually finding a job is actually should be positioned exactly the same way as a sales process. Yeah, it is a sales process, and hoping that applying to a couple of adverts or just speaking to a couple of companies, that then you're going to get the role of your dreams. The ones that are the best at this, they do plan it out. They plan out the types of organizations they want to go after. They build their spreadsheet with all their approaches and their process flows, and they give it a stage, and they fill that funnel. Yeah, and it's effort, and it doesn't matter if you are a master's graduate or a CEO of a big organization. It is a sales process. Yeah, so I think certainly putting that plan and that structure, which will probably be a bit easier for strategists, implementers, for game changer and polishers, that will be more of a challenge, and for playmakers particularly. They might be quite good at building those relationships, but driving the tangible objectives behind it is difficult. So firmly start with a plan, and treat it like a sales process. So you're going to have to contact a number of organizations to then get a number of responses, to then get a number of CVs out, to then get a number of interviews, to then get a number of second interviews, to then get roles. And you just have to work on those metrics.
I love that. And actually, it's interesting because one of the students that I'm coaching at the moment on the program is we had this very same conversation about European Utility Week. So one of the things that we're looking at is, and we're going to. I know that some of you are asking about how to choose your master thesis and where to go and find the part-time jobs and stuff. We're coming to those ones in a little while. But actually, European Utility Week, for any of you that are coming to that, is a great opportunity for you to network, but come with a plan rather than just turning up. So the things that we've looked at is what types of companies are float your boat, what kind of interests you, and going through the exhibition list or exhibitors list that you'll find on the European Utility Week website, you can start to create a cross off of who you want to connect with. Now, one of the things that I did with the student is I then said, right, now you know the companies that you want to go and meet. Go through your digital or things like LinkedIn and start to understand who are the people that you want to connect with at those companies. Now, they may not be at European Utility Week, but what it does do is it starts to open up this channel of communication, which is more relevant for you. So just taking that context of what Nathan said about planning, planning is very important in your network. It's otherwise what you're doing is you're going into the forest without a compass. You don't know where to go. You don't know where to start. You don't know who to talk to. You don't know what to talk about. And all of a sudden, you kind of, it's almost like needle in a haystack type of mentality. So I think that just that kind of like little understanding that building a network, you've got to start with the end in mind, but then, like Nathan said, always got to have a plan.
Yeah.
What's interesting? Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly that. I mean, so we just use European Utility Week as an example. It's one event, yeah, and sales people go to these events. They don't just sort of rock up and have a little bit of a chat. There's a lot of planning 2, 3, 4 weeks before, as Ketan said. You identify the organizations, you identify people in those organizations through LinkedIn, through Twitter, through company websites, whatever, who you think you want to talk to. Yeah, so it could be the innovation manager, it could be, I don't know, the MD of a division, the MD of a country, whatever. Yeah. And it's a simple message. Hi, I'm an InnoEnergy student. We're attending European Utility Week for this Game Changing Impact Challenges. I see you're there. Are you going? If you're not going, I'd love to learn more about your organization and the impact I can have there. Can I have a chat? Who can I talk to? Yeah. Drop my note on LinkedIn. Same
Wow,
thing.
it's amazing you say that, because actually on LinkedIn, a lot of the second years that are currently finishing and graduating, I'm now starting to see them send out LinkedIn messages to say, I'm going to be attending European Utility Week.
Exactly.
We're starting to see that, and that's the conversation starter. So just students, just understand that what we're saying to you here is plan a little bit, which means it gives you kind of a sense of purpose when you're there, because there are 3 days. Yes, you've got the game changing impact challenges. Yes, you've got all these different things. But if you can plan out and say, well, at least I want to meet these 20 companies, it gives you that kind of purpose. Now, when you're there, you actually may find even more. So at least you've got yourself something to actually start with, and then, like Nathan said, hit the message out there from an early stage. Start connecting with some of these people by pushing a message to them through LinkedIn and say, I'm attending European Utility Week. I'm going to go over and see you guys. But it could be that that person's not at there. Usually you don't find the HR people or the direct link connection for the employment that you're looking for at these shows. However, what you now got is a name that you can also refer when you go to their stand. So if you are talking to someone, you say, hey, I've been recently in connection with Jane, hypothetically name, and what that does is it breaks barriers. It takes down that barrier. And then speaking about barriers, I kind of want to move on to this other point. I've clustered a few together. So people are talking about creating a solid profile. And then, that leads into two other areas, Nathan, here. How do you define your path? Go on to secure the job that you really want. And I guess we start talking about convincing others about your abilities. So if we look at things like creating a solid profile, some input I would have here at the moment is defining solid is very, very important. What's the perspective of solid? A solid profile should needs to be very focused into a particular area. That's the way I see this. If you're looking for a solid profile, you want to be able to say, right, okay, I'm into renewables. I'm into this specific part of renewables. This is my background on this. This is my experience on this. This is my beliefs on it. This is what I want to do in the industry. But it has to be very, very channeled and specific. It's the same thing that we normally advise when it comes to resumes and CVs. You do not send the same CV out to every single prospect of role. You need to customize it. So a solid profile should really be something that is consistent in one specific area. Nathan, do you agree with that? Do you think there's any?
You've got to understand the reality. Depend on where you're where you're applying. I mean, the smaller the organisation, the more opportunity you've got to hit in a key stakeholder, right? I mean, the bigger the organisation, they've got a process, right? So we know that, and so therefore you've got to think about what is that process. So Deloitte, one of our clients, for example, in the UK alone, they receive 100,000 CVs alone. Yeah, okay, and they disregard 90% of them purely on basic criteria. Yeah, and what are those criteria? Well, they're looking for keywords. Yeah, so they're looking for things that are easily recognizable and that they're in their language. So if you're applying to, particularly through to a CV, CV sort of database resume sifting process, then you've got to tweak it to the language of that organization. You've got to look at the keywords that they've either got on the role profile or keywords what they look at from or on their website and their literature, because the reality is that obviously competition is high. So I think coming in just from a pure CV sifting perspective, so just pinging your CV around, you've got to send around a lot, because to just get the main aim of that CV is to get it read. Yeah, and then the next aim of that CV is to get a meeting, get an interview, and you can show what you can do. So the CV itself is a sales document. All that CV is getting you a meeting. You're not going to get a job based on the CV. So that's the first thing. Back to that sales focus. But there are ways around it. As we've said, you might see a piece of content that someone senior in that organization has written on LinkedIn or another social media. Just contact them. I'm really interested in what you've said there. I'm studying this, or I've got a passion for this, or I actually think this is what it. This is my point of view on this, and drop them a note. And then, as back to the previous point, you're getting into a conversation. I'm looking at these profile. I mean, not many energy students make this mistake. We see it quite a lot, but it's your social profile is you've got to try and make that look a bit solid as well. We've had graduates getting jobs or junior people getting jobs, and they've checked out their Facebook page of them doing something probably they shouldn't be, and as well as I do, that's that's changed the view of whether this person's a proper candidate. And then defining the career path, I'm not so sure that's something that people should get so necessarily
hung up on.
Not really. Not certainly in the first 2 or 3 years. It's trying to understand what you're looking to pragmatic. You're trying to build experience. You're trying to enjoy that experience. Yet you're trying to build yourself as a person, individual. But the role you get in the very first role you get after university isn't necessarily going to define your career path. Right? I mean, it's I've been working with a CEO of a rocket company out in the States. He started off in the Marines. He then became a lawyer, and now he's the CEO of a astrophysics rocket building company. I mean, it will change. So I think I wouldn't get so hung up on defining the career path in the first instance.
I tend to agree with you on that. I think your final destination career is going to be very unknown. I think you've got to be a little bit more open-minded. It's right now. It's as you're coming new into the market, into the career, into your career side of the your experience, you've got to be more explorative. You've got to consider, right, what are the experiences that I want to learn on? Because I know there are some students thinking, right, I've done all this engineering and science, but actually I'm really interested in economics and business and the consulting side. I've heard this from students before, and it's kind of a situation saying, well, get out there, go and experience it. You know, youth or early stage part of your career is the benefit of time that you have. What tends to happen is you hop, skip, and jump through a couple roles or different experiences for the first 2 to 3 years. You then trying to fall into some form of consistent path, and then, you know, ultimately you're kind of looking at where your next 5 years of time commitment is going to really go into. Not even 10 years, 5 years of careers, but then it's a career within a career. So it's kind of going into environments where you can continuously build your experiences, develop your professional skills, and continuously evolve your role as you go through a company and stuff.
Yeah, it just goes back to what I said before, leveraging out the GC index. You've got to find an organizational role that plays to your natural energies first. And I think back to that Accenture example. This guy thought that he was, it was perfect because on paper it looked like, yeah, I can be Accenture, it's a good stepping stone. But he hated it. Yeah, and actually then went to work for a startup, and he's loving it. Very different career path. Yeah, but his energy and he's enthused, and so I think that's the key. Ketan, I'm still going to push back to the audience. I think
yes, please, yes,
because whilst I don't mind talking, I just want to see if there's anyone that has maybe something a bit different to this.
Yeah,
I mean, just reiterate, these are points that I think about 50, 60 of you responded. And these are the aggregated points. So this is what people are really saying. Is there anything different here, or any comments from the group?
Yeah. Okay, guys, feel free. If you raise your hand, I will then invite you in to talk, and you can share your thoughts. Either share hands or a show of hands, or alternatively, you can put some information on the question and answer section of the webinar, and that gives us a little bit more kind of insights. Now, I guess what I'm going to do here is I'm going to, while we're waiting for anyone to come forward, I think we should keep this moving forward ourselves, keep the flow going, and we can always come back to any points that go in here. One of the other things that I think is really important is for you guys to understand is when you are building your network, when you're going out there, when you're trying to meet prospective employers, it's really valuable for you to take interest in that individual, understand how long they've been in the organization, what do they love most about the organization, what makes them what's their career background and history, because it kind of gives you a little bit more insight into how people have embarked on their journey in their career, and it can help solidify certain things for you, and at the same time it also gives you certain maybe a different perspective on how you stand out off the page, or or you're remembered by someone because you've asked them something completely different and a point of interest. So let me just open up the next sections that we were looking at, which is around profile and visibility. And a lot of people came back with quite a lot of the same stuff here. They wanted to create what we call catchy profiles, how they make themselves stand out from the crowd, how to make the right approach to a company, and this whole area of what we call, how do I develop my personal brand? Now, we've talked a little bit about strategy and planning and knowing where you want to go and exploration and stuff like this. But when it comes to your own profile, there's a part of you there's the human side of you that you've got to be able to show within, to the prospective audience and the target audience that you have there. But then these kind of techniques of how you stand out off the page. Nathan, do you have any quick fire tips on how someone can make themselves look more dazzling or stand out? We've heard the old stories of people who've done things like deliver a pizza to someone's place of work and had their CV taped to the top of it to get the attention of someone. I'm not saying that we guys have to go and start buying pizzas for companies, but do you have any kind of tips on how people, and it's not just about resume, but anything that they can help them jump off the page?
Yeah, again, I think this type of stuff is actual table stakes. There's a lot of stuff you just have to be doing,
Yeah.
right? And it's table stakes. Everyone's doing it. Everyone's gonna, get the best photo, the best resume, the best LinkedIn profile, the best video, do things differently, and there's loads of that, right? But I think where I believe that there is a difference that a lot of people under, I'm convinced that it's a lot more powerful an interaction with the questions that you ask,
Yes.
rather than the answers that you give. So I think that will be my advice. Would be, certainly, if you've got the profile, you've got the table stakes, right? I've got all the stuff, and whether someone's going to like that more than another one, we can't control that. What you can control is again reaching out to particular individuals in the organizations, and asking some clever questions, some questions that no one else is going to ask.
Okay, so let's play a bit of devil's advocate here. I love this. You're a prospective employer. You employ people into your own business. Now, I'm not saying that you're opening the doors for people to come and apply for at the GC Index, but what kind of questions do you think would make you think, oh, this person's quite interesting? We talk about the average question. What kind of things do you think would make you think, wow, okay, this is someone who's a little bit more different or special, thinks differently?
Well, I mean, it could be that they've looked at my business. Yeah, for example, they've researched my business and they've got an opinion on it that's valid, and it's something that I've not. So they might go, look, you've done this, this, and this. I've seen you've done this, this, and this for your business. Why haven't you done this? Or have you thought about doing this? Or what's the implications of doing it in a different way? Or it could be all manner of questions, but it's something that's a little more. This person's taken some time. They've thought about this. They've got a good brain. Yeah, they're actually interested, rather than, here's my CV. I'm good at this, and I've got this, and I'm thinking, well, everyone says that. But someone who sort of tests and pushes the person to think would be my. Well, I haven't had one of those questions yet, Ketan, so I can't really give you a really good answer.
I'm not expecting you to give me an answer, no, but I think this.
So okay, for example, if I went onto my website, the GC Index has got 18 specializations that we deal in. You can see that on our website. Recruitment is one of them. Now, if someone said to me, say, look, I've looked at the GC Index, I've seen you've got these 18 specializations. I actually think you're missing 2. I actually think it would be very powerful in these 2 areas. I think you're missing, and this is why I think why you're missing it. Can we have a cup of coffee and I can talk to you about it for an hour? And I'll probably go yes. Yeah. Rather than someone sending me a CV about what they've done. So that would be an example of. Now, if anyone wants to go and do that, and tell me, I'll have a cup of coffee with you. All right. But so that's the sort of thing that would make me go, yeah, I want to see this person.
Good. Yeah, and that's exactly what I want to get to. So it's the point. Use this as an example, guys, on the fact that when you're looking, take interest into your prospective place of employment. Understand how they're coming to the market, what they're doing, what they're not doing, and it's that little bit there that you're not challenging a question to undermine the integrity or credibility of the business. You're actually showing them that you have interest, you've taken the time, you've invested into them. And I think, so if you are looking at certain businesses or you're looking at certain organizations, certain roles, don't forget you've got these people that will be coming to European Utility Week. They're there. You've got the challenge sponsors as well. Being able to actually ask them questions, more meaningful questions, will definitely help you stand out from the crowd.
And annual reports, Ketan, annual reports, figures, strategies, 2020 strategies are all out there for organizations, or 2022 strategies.
Yeah.
Look at that and go, have you thought about this? I think this is a big opportunity for you. Can I have a chat with you about it?
Absolutely, absolutely. So as we move over to, and guys, again, the floor is open at any time. Feel free to raise your hand. We're more than happy to have you come on board and share some experience, maybe ask a question. We don't bite in any way, shape, or form. If you don't want to speak on the webinar, by all means, you can put your questions or statements or any form of context onto the question and answer format, which is also there as well. So we move on from kind of profile visibility to what we call this whole career development process. And I think, we asked the question very much around where do people find or feel that they would be restricted or find they want more help and information on. And I think when it comes to your career development, we've had some people obviously asking us how to find jobs per se, but really one of the ones that I really wanted to build a little bit on while we've got the time is this whole thing of building reputation and basically kind of making those fundamental choices of whether you're going to go for an academic thesis or a corporate industry thesis. This is going to be kind of relevant for you, and we're going to be revisiting managing your career again later on in the program, which is going to be more concentrated around you getting in and getting your thesis. Now, I know first years, you guys by January have to, or stroke February, need to be announcing and confirming what your thesis is and where it's going. So Nathan, very quickly, building reputation. Now, we just talked about how someone can jump off the page. What is reputation, and why is it so important that that young academic leavers are going to need to start looking and understanding what reputation means when it comes to their career?
Yeah, I think do not underestimate the power of this program that you're going on if you embrace it.
Yes.
I think that's the there are a number of ways of building your reputation. Of course, there's the personal qualities, there's your academic qualities, there is your work experience qualities. So there's we build, we look at, when we make people decisions around reputation, we particularly look at people look at expertise, the skills that you've got. Yeah, that's what they look at. They look at then the experience. Where have you done this before? Have you got demonstrative track record of doing this before? They look at the personality. Now, this is all recruitment. This is why the GCNX is so powerful in recruitment, because experience, expertise, and skills. Experience, expertise, which includes skills, and personality, are things that we often value. Now, what you've got with the GC Index is that you can actually start talking about the impact you can bring. Yeah, and that's nothing else. No other student can do that unless they're an InnoEnergy student. And so I think I would very much be leveraging this program that you've embraced and understand the organizational impact that you can bring, and an awareness of that organizational impact that you can take to an employer, will only enhance that reputation. So that will be my view. And if I'm an employer, and I've said this before, if I'm an employer and I've got two students next to me that have got exactly the same skills, exactly the same experience, exact same personality, and one of them's been through a 12-month impact coaching program, and they can demonstrate how they've fundamentally understood how they're going to impact my business, that's the one I'm going to take.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And I think, just building on some of these things that we often, now is the time that you guys as students should be considering and thinking about these. I've got some of my students that I'm coaching right now who have already got some internship placements, and they're thinking, right, I'm going to be doing my master thesis here, which is fine. This is your time and opportunity. Don't fall into the lapse of just ending up doing a master thesis based on whatever's kind of going to be available at that moment in time. If you are interested in particular areas and aspects, this is the time for you to start shaping this out. And look, it goes back to that whole networking piece. We have a lot of InnoEnergy alumni in our coaching network. We have a lot of people within the Career Center who are part of the community program who have completed their master theses. They're probably in the areas in the environment, working in the areas of industry that you are interested in doing your thesis on. You should be reaching out to these people. You should be connecting, asking them the questions, not directly of, can you get me a thesis, but what did they do? How did they go about finding their thesis? Do they know anyone in their network that can offer them an opportunity? This is your time to be proactive, and it's important that you guys pick up on the fact that it's you don't want to leave it too late, and you don't want a situation where you just end up taking something for the sake of taking it. So making a decision on whether you go academic or you go corporate industry is really going to be playing on what is it that you want to do your thesis on. And more importantly, I think you start from now. You should be reaching out to some of these second years as well in the network, identifying with them, because these are people who are finishing their theses. They haven't got to that end position, but you're building your network around this is going to be very, very important. So look, I mean, for my students that I'm coaching at the moment, I'm giving them advice to start connecting into the internal network. You guys can go on the Student Resource Center, have a look at the coaches, so you can see all the coaches that we have. All you've got to do is come back to us internally at Enterprise Lab, tell Tatiana, I need a connection to so-and-so. And you want to ask the questions to them. I'm sure if the coach is given enough pre-warning by us that you are going to approach them, they'll be more than happy to assist you in that particular thing. But it's an important thing right now. If you don't ask, you won't get. So the other things that were brought up was how to develop or plan your advancement, your career. Again, coming back to the point that Nathan made a little bit earlier, I think it's premature for you guys to really think about the future part of your career. But advancing your career, if you're planning to advance your career, what is it that you want to advance in? It's a little bit the same of when we work with businesses that want to grow. What do you want to grow in? So having that question answered clearly in your mind will give you more and more direction. So are you trying to advance your technical ability? Are you trying to advance your experience level? Are you looking at advancing your managerial position? Are you looking at leadership? So once you know what it is specifically that you want to advance in, that's the first thing that you need to establish. Then you can start to question, okay, what is it that you need? Where do you need to go? And where could you be that will enable you to advance to the destination that you want to? And finally, when it comes to role, industry, remunerations, it's a situation that there is the age-old thing. How much am I worth? I'm entry level. How do I pitch myself into the money? I think if you make your salary a key factor in your career, you're going to limit yourself right from the beginning. There's always going to be situations whereby, because of the level of experience and expertise that you have, that you're going to have to start in junior roles with junior pay grades. But I think what's important for you to understand is how quickly can you move up the chain? What is it that you need to do to be able to satisfy the earning criteria that you set yourself? The industry doesn't set the salary. This is kind of set by the organization, who does take industry indicators. But I know people who are getting way above their earnings to their age or to their level of experience, because what they've done is fundamentally focused on how do they grow within that company and grow their earning capacity. I know we're running, towards the end of this this webinar. So one of the things that Nathan and I have talked about previously is about the first 100 days in employment, and we had some very interesting responses to this one, Nathan. But I wanted to give you a couple of ideas of where students are coming from. I think one of the concerns that people have is their ability to become part of a team within the first 100 days, and that goes into also developing key relationships. But what I thought was interesting, still be stimulated to work hard every day. I know it's kind of a little bit light-headed, but it could be the fact that sometimes roles become quite monogamous, and you talked about that guy, the
Yeah,
chap
yeah,
that went to
yeah,
Accenture and got sent up
yeah,
to Hull.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
just a quick fire, just a minute on these, all of these kind of put together. Where was your advice or approach be when it comes to these kind of things around the first 100 days?
Yeah, right. So firstly, there's the first 100 days is called the temporary state, or the first 100 days in a new role is called the temporary state of incompetence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's there's a book. I'm not sure if it's on the student portal, Ketan. It's quite an old book now. They call it the first 90 days. Michael Watkins' book, and that's he coined that
We'll
term.
get that up. We'll get that up for sure.
Yeah, good. Yeah, just a link to that because he coined that term, the temporary state of incompetence, and it's true. Yeah, it's true. You particularly, I always found the first 2 weeks of any role, is everyone's running around knowing what they're doing, and you're sitting there just trying to get your laptop to work or something. It's really really quite difficult. So you need to be prepared for that, and that's a good book just to help you with that. Michael Watkins, and we can put that out in the chat. It is old, but it is still relevant today. Now, I think again, just back to the point, that we said right at the front end, use that GC Index profile to help you with some of this stuff. Yeah, so you can get to understand yourself better, what energizes you, what doesn't energize you, and therefore, you need to adapt to that, and yeah, it really helps there. But developing key relationships, that's going to be a little bit easier often for implementer playmakers than it might be for for polisher game changers. Might be more difficult. Yeah, and particularly key relationships for polisher game changers are very much a strategist boss or strategist colleagues or playmaker boss and playmaker colleagues that understand them. If it's settling into your role, you're going to have to just work out how you're going to earn your spurs. Yeah, and often earning your spurs is by delivering tangible results in the first couple of months. Yeah, that's what it's going to be. So, and then it's all the stuff that we spoke about before, and it's there in the GC Index profile. There's more there in the GC Index book as well. So, yeah, and your coach will know all about this. But there's just some of my tips.
Brilliant. And I kind of just want to kind of echo certain sentiments when it comes to this. This is the kind of things that you should be really speaking to your coach about as you go into your coaching session and say, look, as much as your career planning, start to talk to them. What was it like in your first 100 days in your when you are starting off? So get the perspective from them, because you will understand how they go around each of these kind of points, whether it's developing relationships, remaining motivated and stimulated on a work. I don't think you want to work hard every day. You kind of want to move into the work smart mode. But then there's also it's not about just settling into a role, but becoming part of the team, and almost actually how you move that team forward. Remember, contribution is all about contribution and impact is all about understanding who you are, and what you can produce at particular parts of a process. So you're always going to be part of a team, even if you're working in isolation. The organization is your team, and I think that drives itself along with understanding the culture of that organization. How do they move forward? How do they do they build the internal ecosystem of which people thrive within? So refer back to your GC Index profiles, have a look at your thriving, not surviving part, build up some questions, go into your coaching session with a lot more about what your near future of your career will look like. Nathan, thank you for...
So just finally from me, that is exactly right. So if human beings, if we're making an impact that we want to make and we like it, and that impact is valued, then we've got energy. Okay, then we don't mind working too much. It's where the impact that you want to make is not valued, and that's where you might start to struggle. So hence why we do underpin this program with the GC Index framework to help you with that. Okay, but do come and contact us anytime. Contact me on LinkedIn, Twitter at GC Index. No problem at all. Always happy to help with anything that you guys might need. Okay, thank you, Ketan.
Thank you. Well, that's it. That's a wrap. Again, thank you for those of you that attended. Next time, I really want to hear more from you guys. You know, keep
That'd be nice.
yes, these are the platforms which you're able to actually engage. So take advantage of this. Just a quick recap, everything running through from the Career Centre regarding Game Changing Impact Challenges and the European Utility Week. Don't forget your coaching is coming up as well. Start thinking about the questions, get in touch with your coaches, start to prepare for your sessions. If any of you are having any difficulties in getting a hold of your coaches, Tatiana's always on hand. And if there's any other concerns or questions that you have at any point, feel free to come back to us internally through to Tatiana, and I can kind of relay that into the core teams. But for now, I really appreciate your attention. Good luck with everything with regards to preparing for your master thesis stuff, and again, you know, we'll catch you on the next webinar. So it's goodbye from me, and I guess it's goodbye from Nathan as well.
Thanks, guys. Sorry, I couldn't find the mute button. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Take care, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.